Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be continuing on our piano basics. Today we're going to be talking about scales. I very briefly have talked about scales before, but today I'm going to go in more in depth of what they are. Obviously what they are, and then of course why they matter to you. Now, as a pianist for about 7 years, I've taught myself over that time, and I haven't had much need for scales because there's actually workarounds. But as you progress, you'll notice that there's going to be gaps in your knowledge that you need to learn in order to get better and better. The scales actually have a lot of uses, so don't discount them. They're not something boring just to memorize different patterns on the piano. They actually build different things. What I just showed you at the beginning of the video was a C major scale. Just like chords, it's built with a ratio. With a chord, for example, a major chord, 4-3 ratio, as we learned before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, C major chord. The C major scale is going to be built with a different formula. In fact, this applies to any letter of the piano alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All of them have the same rule they have to follow when it comes to building a major scale. So we're going to be talking about the formula itself, or the ratio, whatever you want to call it. It's a 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1 ratio. And this applies to every note in the piano. If you want to build a major scale from any, and that doesn't just include the white notes. It can be any of these black notes too. If I wanted to build an F sharp major scale, the same formula applies. So let's build a C major scale again. I know you've seen it, but let's see the math behind it. You start with C. You count 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. C major scale. Okay, so as an example, I'm going to bring this up too, and I'll talk about this app at the very end of the video here. Let's talk about like a D major scale, for example. Now, a D major is going to have 2 black notes in the scale, so let's start with D. Let's count 2. 1, 2. Count 2, and see, you can already tell it's a black note. Okay, and then 1. Okay, so here we go. We went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and then we go 2, 2, 2, 1. Okay, so we go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. D major scale, and it's going to sound like this. Now listen very carefully to this. You notice how all the notes are in agreement? Let's see here. No, I'm hitting the right notes. It's just playing it in a weird way. But all these notes get now, if I played some random notes on the piano, it won't sound so good. Let's say I played just some random ones. That doesn't sound quite right, does it? Because there are certain rules when it comes to relationships between notes. You think of these as almost best friends with each other. If you have different friends out there, you have certain friends that you have in common with. Now, not all your friends are going to get along with all of your friends, at least based on interests, because everybody has a different relationship. So if you pick a random set of keys, they're not going to get along. But, for example, the reason why these D major keys get along is because they all have something in common. They're in the D major scale. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the minor scale. So we talked about the major, and as a reminder, a major sound, so a major scale, a major chord, typically those are songs that sound happy, or they sound victorious, or they sound heroic or bright. Now let's talk about minor. Okay, so a minor scale. Now, I don't have enough time in this video to talk about all the different scales out there. There's actually an enormous amount of different types of scales, but for today's video, just major and minor scale. In fact, a lot of popular music is composed in one of those scales. Okay, so let's look at a minor scale. So we know a major scale is a 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1 ratio. A minor scale is going to be 2-1-2, 2-1-2-2. So let's build it. Here we go. We start with a C. Remember I said 2-1-2. Okay, so 2-1. Okay, so we went 1-2, 1, and then 1-2 again. 2-1-2. Okay, and then you go 2-1-2-2. So 2, 1, 2, here. This is a C minor scale. Now Now, I may have lost a lot of you because you say, okay, why does that matter to me? Why do scales matter? Well, they matter especially for beginners, for a couple different reasons. Now, in advanced piano, there's other uses for scales. But for beginners, there's a couple different reasons why they actually matter. One is something called a key signature. I actually have a plan to make a video based on the notation for a key signature and describing what that is. But basically, a key signature tells you at the beginning of a piece, these notes are sharps or flats. So that way you don't have to go through as a composer and constantly dictate disregard. You don't have to constantly write in which notes are sharps and flats. It's already told you from the beginning, and that actually corresponds to a scale. So a lot of times if you look at a piece, if you look at your treble clef or your bass clef, depending on the instrument, it's going to tell you the key signature at the very beginning. Okay, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. Another thing that about scales is really important is when it comes to composing, chords actually come into play. So chords are actually derived from a scale itself. So let's look at a C major scale again. There's actually, at least 7 different types of chords within that scale. To make it simple, we know that. Okay, so C major scale. What are the chords that are inside of this? Watch this. Now, notice how I'm playing all the notes that correspond to scale. It's all the white notes. So this is why it works. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and get ready for a weird one, B diminished. In another video, I'll talk about diminished chords. So once again, if you have a scale, any triads, remember triad is 3 note chords, any triad that can fit in the scale does belong in the scale. So C major, okay, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and B diminished. And really quick, I'll at least give you a 2-second explanation what diminished is. You take a B major chord, so that would be right here, start with B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and you start with this. A diminished means you get your 3rd and your 5th, okay, and you go a semitone to the left. Okay, I'll also talk about intervals at some point too and describing what those are. Okay, so that basically completes what a scale is. So we've talked about how to build major scales, how to build minor scales, why they are important. Another key thing to remember about scales is that if you know what scale a song is, it makes it a bit easier to play because you know what notes don't work. For example, a song that's written in C is probably not going to have a lot of black notes in it. Now, you're allowed to have black notes outside of a scale. That's for advanced music theory and why that works. But for the most part, you know that you're going to have white notes in it. Now, here's the great news, especially for something written in C major. It's very forgiving to play in C major because all the white notes are fair game. All these notes belong in the scale, so they're fair game. The same thing with A minor. In fact, Für Elise is written in A minor. A minor is going to be that, remember that 2-1-2, 2-1-2-2, and it ends up being this. Für Elise is actually written in A minor. And the reason why Für Elise is such a good beginner song is not only because it's beautiful and it's fairly easy to play, but also because it's very forgiving. So if you accidentally hit the wrong note, then it's okay as long as it's a white note because a lot of times it can still fit within the scale. Okay, before I finish out, there's 2 things. Talking about this app that's before you right here, I think you should be able to see it a little bit here. I'm going to kind of tilt it towards the screen. Now, this is that chords app I've talked about before. Very powerful software. I believe it costs about $30 for a year. I don't remember. But what's great about this software is as you're learning, this is great for beginners because you have different functions on this. Now, I know this is on Apple products. I don't know if it's on Android products. But on this, you can select different types of chords that you're wanting to build, different types of scales, okay? Different types of progressions. Remember our progression video, okay? Also, something very cool for some of you composers out there, you have the ability to compose music on here, and then of course circle of fifths for reference. But depending on the type of musician you are and the goals that you have, there's a lot of different powerful uses for this app. Now, the great news about this app is a lot of it is available to you without even purchasing it. It's free. I went ahead and bought it just because I have really the need to do it. All right, so one thing I want to talk about is a very unique scale. Now, I remember how I said there's different types of scales, lots of different types. There is one I want to bring to your attention. There's major and minor, and then there's like very unique scales. So let's talk about a blues scale, C blues scale. Okay, so a C blues scale is going to be built like this. Now, I could bring out the formula, but frankly, I don't want to right now. I think it might be like a 2-1-3 or 1-2-3 or something. I could talk about more at length later, but the point is, I want to show you what a C blues scale sounds like. Again. It should sound very, very familiar to you, because in blues, that's such a friendly, such a beautiful scale, and you can do a lot with it. What's great about the scale is everything is fair game within that. So as long as you stay in that, you can do really cool things. So let's say I got my left hand and just did octaves with 2 C's, and I just played the scale in different ways. Okay, that's a lot of fun for some of you who are just introducing yourself to scales. I'm gonna actually finish out the video with a little song I'm gonna play for you, and then finish out the video with that. Everybody knows Heart and Soul. It's one of the most common beginner songs, right? I mean, it seems like every beginning pianist always has their 5 or 6 songs that everybody plays because they're very easy. But let me show you why we're going to talk about Heart and Soul, because it's actually written in C major, and it has a great chord progression, and all the chords belong in the C major scale like we talked about. All of these are chords within the C major scale. So C major, A minor, F major, G major. Again, C major, A minor, F major, G major. Okay, now I'm going to beef it up for you. I'm going to play Heart and Soul my way, and you're going to see the power of it. Now, there's different notes I'm going to be playing outside of the scale, but I'm going to demonstrate to you how simply, if you know what a scale is, you can play with and do different stuff. Don't you want to sing with it? Heart and soul, I fell in love with you. Heart and soul, a way of overdue. I'm simply following the rules that are laid out in the scale and a chord progression rule. Okay, that's my video. I hope it's informative. Let me know if you have any questions, if you have requests for any more videos, and be sure to subscribe so you can keep updated with any new videos that I put out. Okay, you have a great day.